For the majority of the offseason, we are going to be talking about the Myles Garrett saga. If you think about it, the Lions are pretty much in a decent place. I mean, outside of re-signing our 8 free agents and bringing in some people from outside of the organization, there's not a lot to talk about with our team. I guess it happens when you're good. If you win the Super Bowl, you're talking about how you can repeat, but I guess one day we'll learn what that feels like. So the majority of this offseason will be probably some new territory. Winning is new for us. Being 15-2 is new for us. So this type of content is new for us. Not a lot going on with our team right now, but other teams around the NFL that could directly affect the Detroit Lions, this is worth talking about. This is how the Detroit Lions could get Myles Garrett. Now, I have to say this. Shout out to my guy, the Dern, who dropped this nugget in my ear about just reminding me that Kelvin Shepherd was a rookie defensive coordinator and how awesome it would be to have somebody like Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett on the other side, how much of a help that would be to an already pretty good back-end defense, but a defensive line that is struggling. Now, we're going to have a conversation about Brad Holmes, and I think this is the year. Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is what 4 years of neglect, proper care of a defensive line. Maybe this is where it gets you. Maybe that moment was all to culminate in the opportunity to get Myles Garrett on the Detroit Lions. Now, here's how the Detroit Lions can get it done. This is coming from the Rich Eisen Show, and I want you guys to pay attention to what Daniel Jeremiah has to say about how he thinks that the Detroit Lions or any other team could get a guy like Myles Garrett, and I'll give you my thoughts after this is over.
So the Kirk Cousins plan, is that why Myles Garrett demanded a trade, Daniel? So
I don't know, but my phone blew up when that got sent.
So your phone blows up when Myles Garrett says he wants out of Cleveland. Your thoughts on that before I let you go, or what?
I personally, and I know they've said, Andrew Berry has said, we're not moving him. I think Myles Garrett did them a huge, huge favor because I do think it's in their best interest to trade him. But if he doesn't demand a trade and you trade him, you're going to have a big section of your fan base. And having worked there, I know how this is. In Cleveland, because the team success hasn't been there, they're very attached to their guys. And they can say, look, Joe Thomas was here from start to finish. He's our guy, and he's going straight into the Hall of Fame. And maybe our teams weren't all that great, but he's our guy. Like that's what we're going to hold on to. And Myles Garrett the same way. So if he would have just traded him without Myles Garrett requesting a trade, there's a bunch of people that'd be like, how do you trade a first ballot Hall of Famer? It's all it's kind of all we got here. We have our stars, and he's one of those. Now you can just say, look, we would have kept. He didn't want to be here. So at that point in time, this allows you to start collecting assets for the future, and kind of have a little reset period here, because you can look at it and say he is an unbelievable player, but when you don't have the quarterback, to some degree, it doesn't even matter. So I tend to believe, I think that their quarterback is in the 26 draft. And I would be doing everything I could, to get as many resources in 26 and 27, which would allow me to get that accomplished. And also I wouldn't be, opposed to them even trading down in this draft to get more resources for the future. But that's where I am.
So, what do you think the cost is going to be? What is Andrew Berry going to demand now that you think that Myles Garrett is taking the pressure off of him by saying, "I want out"? What do you think?
I think you get 2 ones. And then, maybe there's maybe if it's a team that's picking in the back of the first round, maybe it's, this year's one, next year's one, plus a little something extra, maybe a player, another pick. I don't think you can get 3 ones, but I think you can get 2. And if you're picking at the bottom, which if he wants to go to a winner, I would imagine, they would do their best to try and accommodate him from that standpoint. So there will be a lot of teams picking at the back of the draft be interested in that one.
Washington? I mean, that's the one that just keeps leaping at me because he checks a box of that they're on the rise. It checks a box for the Browns that they get him out of conference. Detroit obviously checks that box too. So those are a couple that just leap to mind on that front.
NFC side, I mean, 100%. I would make a case.
Rams? Do you think the Rams could? I mean,
they don't really need him. It's crazy to say it, but their young D line is so good. I mean, they're so cheap. That was the first thing I thought of. As soon as I saw that he was like, well, Les probably already texted him because he's so aggressive. But I'm looking at their team, and I mean, he's got one of the best defensive lines in the NFL right now, and they're young and cheap. So I don't know that that's the right one for them, but Detroit, 100%. I mean, that is, you put him on the opposite side of Hutchinson, and that'll solve a lot of your problems.
Catch.
There you go. Coming out of Daniel Jeremiah's mouth, we know that him and Bucky Brooks do the draft, mock drafts and stuff every single year. And I'm going to take that, what he said, as 100%. That's exactly how I feel. But notice he said the Rams. The Rams, Les Snead saying we don't really need them, but who cares, right? Forget them picks. So if you heard him, the Lions could get probably Daniel Jeremiah, which I agree. You're not going to get 3 firsts for a 28-year-old pass rusher. You can get 2. And if you're on the back end, like we are, picking 28th, you're going to have to give up an additional asset or 2. With that being said, how can the Detroit Lions get Myles Garrett? We got a lot to talk about. And specifically, it's going to be most of my all-season content. We're going to be coming back to this a lot. Is going to be about Brad Holmes and the state of this defensive line and how he is going to have to fix it, or it will eventually come back to haunt him. You have an opportunity that you have to give maximum effort in this situation. But how could the Detroit Lions land Myles Garrett? Gave you a little taste right there. If Daniel Jeremiah believes that it's going to take 2 firsts, right now the Lions have 1 first-round pick. They're picking number 28. I want to show you how it can get done. Notice that Daniel Jeremiah said that if you're Cleveland, they wait to 2026 because haven't heard many good things about this draft class. This is like that 2022 draft class all over again, kind of like the Kenny Pickett. You've got like Kenny Pickett going, the first quarterback taken, he wasn't taken until number 20. And then he wind up being on a new team in 2 years. So Daniel Jeremiah saying he would wait until 2026. So that means that the Detroit Lions would probably be able to keep their first-round pick this year. This is their draft haul. They got pick number 2860, 101, which is from Aaron Glenn. Before that, before Aaron Glenn had the job with the Jets, we didn't have this pick. They've got, I believe that this is still right. Tankathon be off sometimes, but I believe this is from DeAndre Swift. I don't know where this is from. This is from Carlton Davis, I think. And this is from the Terrion Arnold trade last year. So it could be off a little bit, but I know that the top 3, the first 3 are right. So we keep our 2025 first-round pick. We defer those assets for Cleveland to 2026. We give a 2026 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and who's the additional asset that we could add in to facilitate this trade? His name has come up. I gave you a little taste. Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker is the guy that the additional asset. Consider Hendon Hooker the equivalent of the 3rd-round pick in the Matthew Stafford trade. And maybe we have to sprinkle another pick in there as well, as long as we get a player in return. Now, I want to show you why the Cleveland Browns don't need any more picks for 2025. Check this out. This is why they can afford to defer. They're going to suck this year. According to Tankathon, look at their draft capital. They have 12 picks, 12 of them. This is for Zadarius Smith. If we trade it, they wouldn't get any picks from us this year. They would get a player from us. Now, I believe that the maximum amount of draft picks you can have is 13 or 14, if I understand correctly. That might not even be a thing. But right now, they have 12. They don't need any more capital for this year. And it looks like 8 of them are their own, and they got 4 from other teams. 1 from Minnesota, 1 from us, 1 from Miami, 1 from Buffalo. They got massive trade capital. They're picking 4 times in the top 100, and then just out of the top 100, 1 pick at 103. In the top 100, they've got 4 picks. This is a haul for Cleveland. They don't need any more draft picks this year. They defer that first-round pick to next year and 2027. We get Myles Garrett. I don't mind a player for picks. if that player is Myles Garrett. And if those picks are the 2026 first round pick, the 2027 first round pick, Hendon Hooker, it's a done deal. Now, I want to show you the Lions draft capital again because we're probably going to dive into this a little later. But I want to show you, just keep an eye on the back end of the draft here. If this is correct, we have 3 7th round picks, but we'll dive into that later. I'm going to give you a little clue. The build through the draft people, we're going to take a look at that information. This video is already going on 11 minutes, and I'll just make another video about that subject. So here's how the Lions get it done. And I didn't even realize yesterday that Myles Garrett was taking a shot at Andrew Berry in his letter yesterday. Andrew Berry said in his season-ending presser that his goal was to get, or he could see Myles, he wants Myles to go from Cleveland to Canton. And Myles said yesterday, my goal was not to get from Cleveland to Canton. I think that relationship is ruined. I think that Cleveland will not have Myles Garrett suit up. He will not suit up for the Cleveland Browns again. And I think that he will be traded. And somebody is going to get their hands on Myles Garrett. My only hope is that if he wants to go to a contender, that he doesn't think the Green Bay Packers are that team. But we're going to dissect that a little more as to how this thing could work. A lot of my content, man, is going to be revolving around pass rushers, whether it's Myles Garrett. He won't be the only name that comes up, but he'll be the biggest. This could be a monumental opportunity for Brad Holmes. This could be the moment we've all been waiting for. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's his draft to botch, or his trade to botch. I truly believe that. We'll go into that into another video. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that's enough to get Myles Garrett out of Cleveland? And do you think he'll be a Detroit Lion? This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. It's because of your support I get to do what I do. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.